just wanted to welcome everybody. We're having a conversation today for the Curse of the Blessing. It's an event for art and med, and we're trying to create awareness for their education and raise funds for charity. We're working for the Curse of the Blessing. All the artwork is by artists by women who have Ph.D. and all the artwork is about Hyperemesis Gravidarum, and we have somebody from the Her Foundation who's going to facilitate the conversation, Kimber, and she can introduce everybody else. Or actually, it's probably better if they introduce everybody else.
Sounds good. Thank you. We appreciate everyone being here. Pregnancy is a miraculous time, but it's also deeply challenging, especially for those who have hyperemesis. That's what we're talking about today. The Curse of the Blessing embodies that duality. It's a blessing of having a new child, but also the suffering that comes with HG that's often invisible to other people. So we're going to talk tonight about how art and medicine together can bring this invisible experience to life. So I'm Kimber MacGibbon. I'm the executive director of the Her Foundation, and I'm a registered nurse, and I started the foundation 25 years ago, and I'm very excited for us to be able to offer this opportunity to give voices to the women who have had HG and those who have cared for them. And we have 3 panelists here with us. Would you like to start and go through and introduce yourselves?
Yeah, I'm Marlena Fejzo, and I've been working with the Her Foundation since its birth, actually, even before its birth, actually, because I had HG, and I made a survey about answering any question possible I could think of about hyperemesis. And Kimber was pregnant and answered the survey and said she was going to start the foundation as soon as she recovered from her pregnancy. And so then we started working together to try to answer as many questions as we could about HG. So I am the research director at the foundation, and of course there's also other incredible work that Kimber and the foundation does.
I'm Grisey, an artist, obviously. That's my piece over there, the weaving. And I had hyperemesis with my 2 pregnancies, and my kids, they successfully were born, are 2 and 5 now. So, but yeah, we survived. We're here.
And I'm Aimee Brecht-Doscher. I'm one of the artists, and I also am an OBGYN physician. And I had hyperemesis with my 2 pregnancies, and ultimately had 1 baby. And I met Kimber and Marlena shortly after Marlena met Kimber, and have been working with the Her Foundation ever since, and I'm currently a board member for the Her Foundation. Great. I would love to have each one of you share a little bit about your HG journey, just why it had such an impact on you, how you realized that you had HG, and just the impact it's had on you through your life.
I would say I also do spiritual work. I'm a medium, so I would say that having hyperemesis gravidarum catapulted my journey with working with the other side, the spirit world, and it was really, obviously it's a physical, experience where you're purging. And it's very, emotional, and it completely brings you to the point of, I don't know if I'm going to make it. So that really brought me to the edge of experiencing just this profound, spiritual awakening within me. And, I'm also an artist, so expressing this through my creation, what I do. But it makes you, I have so much to say, yeah, it makes you so grateful for health and really even like the minutia things of brain fog, or we were talking about, you know, gut health and how much hyperemesis really disrupts everything. So just being, I mean, really, it just makes you grateful for being alive. That was my experience. And because, you know, the whole time you're feeling, it's when people are asking, they're like, oh, how does this feel? I'm like, it's like the flu, but it's like worse than that. It's like you can't even like move your head or like get up out of bed. And I just had this like 3 years ago, so I'm kind of like fresh out. And I think people just don't get it. There's like a feeling of isolation and grief around that. Because I would be, you know, texting my friends and being like, you know, I'm like so sick, and they're like, oh, try some ginger, and I'm like, oh my god. Okay.
The question in your view, what others would support you as the best support? Because, you know, people say, oh, I know exactly what you can do, which is a lie.
Mm-hmm.
So, in your view, what others could do to alleviate?
What do I do to what did I do to
What others
Oh.
can do to
What others
help you
could
who
do to
don't.
alleviate
Oh,
your
yeah. I think what they're doing is, you know, spreading awareness that this is actually a thing, and that this isn't morning sickness. This is actually.
You're in a immediate circle. You have a circle of friends.
You would just, I don't know. That's a really good question, because it's hard to be that sick, and you know, I think it's hard to tell people what you need, because sometimes you don't even know what you need. You know. Like help me clean my house. Help me with my first child if you have another kid that's already, you know, in the mix. Childcare, like cooking.
You know, it's a challenge for those who haven't gone through it.
Yeah.
They still want to be positive.
I think for the best of the session and the video, we're gonna have the moderator handle all the questions, and then at the end, we can take some questions.
It's okay.
It's a good question.
It is.
Yeah.
Your question will be answered.
Shall I go?
Yes.
So, I mean, I was an OBGYN physician at the time when I got pregnant. So, you know, when I got sick, I knew exactly what it was, although I did have significant denial. And I do remember saying things like, I'm not pregnant, I'm not sick, I'm just pregnant, when I was clearly really very sick. It really didn't mean that I knew how to make it better, though, because all of the things that I knew to make it better weren't working. And so that was, I could not fix myself. And I think one of the really, it's an experience that you carry with you forever when you've had it, which is, you know, why Kimber and Marlena and I are still doing this. But I think one of the things was in my career as a physician, one of the things that I learned from that experience is that regardless of what the medical condition is, like, you really don't know what the patient, the person suffering, is going through unless you're the one going through it, because I don't think I had seen patients with hyperemesis before, but I really did not have a sense of how horrible the experience was, and how isolating, and just how every single minute is miserable. And you would just look to, like, when you could go to sleep was like, sleep was the only time that you weren't miserable, and every other minute of the day was miserable. And it's just not something that you can really comprehend if you haven't gone through it. And so that was the biggest thing
Yeah.
learned and took back from that experience.
Yeah, I mean, I think I agree with all of that, and then just, yeah, it was really like a form of torture, and in my second pregnancy, I lost the baby at 15 weeks, and so while I had it, my doctor had told me that I was just trying to get attention from my family, and so afterwards, since I am a scientist, I decided my mission is to prove him wrong and really figure out what's causing this. And so it really did change my life, because it also changed, my career and my mission in my life. So hopefully now we're going to turn a corner since we found the main cause and get there towards prevention and cure. So.
If you had to choose a symptom that was most specific to you, that helped you understand that this was not just morning sickness, what would you say that was?
I think because I couldn't even drink water, so, it wasn't just like aversion to coffee or something like that. It's a basic human need to be able to drink water. I couldn't even drink water without vomiting. I couldn't put anything in my mouth without vomiting, so.
Yeah. Same. Yeah. It was just everything. And then only knowing that I think I could only eat sort of, I'm not pronouncing this right, but pho. And it was like the vegetarian kind, so you couldn't even get like the protein that you need, because I would read your studies, like protein was like really, you can stomach it, like it really helps you feel better. So I think just like the knowing that you're not getting the nutrients that are right. Yeah. But yeah, water, basic water.
I would say it was just like the every moment nausea.
Mm-hmm.
Like just crippling nausea. And just how horrible that is when you have nausea every minute of every day.
It's torture.
It really is torture. One of the things that I always, you're in the hospital room and they have little signs up. It's like what your pain level is, and it's like, oh, I can do other things, and then it's like it's absolutely intolerable, and I'm like, this is my nausea scale, but I have no pain. So the nurse would come in and ask me the pain level was 0, and then they would look at you like, well, why are you here? Like, it's not just pain, it's the nausea. It's like at that 10 all the time.
Okay, if you start throwing up at the yellow stuff.
Well, yeah. There was some, heartburn and some, but right. That I could take care of with medications at least. Like, there was, at least that fixed.
Yeah, and I think that's a good segue to for the next question was really like one of the biggest challenges is that no medication comes in and eliminates all the problems. So we know that we can take acid-reducing medication to help with acid reflux, but one of the biggest challenges is that there isn't a gold standard treatment that just makes all the nausea and vomiting go away. And so there's no way to get away from the suffering for months upon months. And I know I personally had it all the way through until I had my kids. So, Aimee, as an OBGYN, what would you say is the challenges with treatment for HG?
I think, that's a huge challenge, is that the medications sometimes work great, and then sometimes they really just don't work at all. And there's a limited number of medications, and so you go through them, and then they don't work, and then you're like, well, now what do I do? And I think that's why a lot of people end up with the experience that their doctors, they either seem like they don't believe them, or tell them that it's all just in their head, or they're just trying to get attention or stuff like that, because the doctors, like, they have these tools and their tools aren't working, and so instead of thinking, well, there's something wrong with my tools, they're thinking, well, there's something wrong with my patient. And that, and you see that in other conditions, especially ones that women suffer from more than men, is that there is a sense that if the patient doesn't respond to treatment, then it must be the patient's fault. There must be something psychological. If somebody has cancer and the cancer doesn't respond to treatment, we don't think about that way. We need to change what we do in medicine and not assume that if it's a subjective symptom and the patient doesn't respond, that it's the patient's fault.
Yeah.
But it can be really hard when you get to the bottom of your toolbox and nothing has helped. And then, there's nowhere else to turn to. I saw rheumatologists, but they didn't have anything in their toolbox that I didn't already have in my toolbox. And, that's something that her foundation has done a lot with, is trying to help people have a larger toolbox. And help, and then sometimes you just get to the point where you just have to provide the nutrition and get people through it because you can't fix it all.
Yeah. And I think that's a really good point. You have a limited number of tools, and if they don't work, then we tend to blame the patient. Or I know I was told I was rejecting my pregnancy, but I didn't even know I was pregnant, so I don't know how I could be to blame. So, but Marlena, when you're thinking about the future of treatment, what would you see as the ideal, both as a scientist and as a patient?
Well, now we know that the main cause is this hormone called GDF15 and the sensitivity to it. And so right now there is a trial of, not in the US, but outside of the US, there is a trial of a medication that will block the hormone from signaling in the brainstem where the nausea and vomiting center of the brain is. And so, hopefully that's going to work and be safe. And then I think it will help. Of course, not everybody's different, but I think that will help a lot of people because it's really a medication that's going to treat the root cause of the problem rather than just throwing out things that have worked for other kinds of nausea before.
So we.
What could be the root cause?
It's a hormone called GDF15. So this is a hormone that basically tells you not to eat when you're injured or sick. That's why you don't feel hungry when you're sick or you have the flu or you're injured, or basically is a hormone whose job it is, we think, is to say you're more likely to survive if you rest and recover than if you go out hunting and gathering for food, which was a big part of our evolution. And so for survival, we evolved with this hormone that said you're not going to live if you go out in this injured state or this weakened state. You're more likely to get eaten by a tiger or whatever because you're going to run too slow or whatever it is. So that hormone also so everyone has it, men, women, babies, but the hormone is also expressed during pregnancy, and it's expressed by the placenta, and women get huge amounts of it, and we think that it's to stop people from eating certain foods that might be harmful to the baby. So better to just stay around the place where you're used to, not go too far, not try new things, but just so it makes you a little bit nauseous. It makes your sense of smell stronger so that you avoid anything that could be harmful to the baby or avoid any dangers by going out hunting and gathering. But we don't need it anymore. Now we can just push an Uber Eats button. It's not so dangerous. So I think it will be safe to get rid of it. So the reason that's what it normally does and why most people have like a little bit of aversion and, wouldn't drink coffee or alcohol because that hormone is stopping them. But with hyperemesis, we have found that many people have a gene, so your genes code for this hormone, and they have a variation in the gene that makes them have lower levels before they're pregnant. And so when they get pregnant and it rises, they're hypersensitive to it. And so one of the things that we're working on is possibly giving people metformin before pregnancy, because metformin causes the levels to rise, so they can get used to it before pregnancy, just like allergy shots where you desensitize. So to desensitize to the hormone, and then when they get pregnant, they're already used to it, and then hopefully they wouldn't have it in the next pregnancy. So that's what we're working on right now. So yeah, so we have prevention methods and treatments on the way, which is really exciting.
So in thinking about that, Mary, I was thinking that, we have kind of the desperation and the lack of treatment. And I mean, there's no hope for things to change right in this moment, and especially if you're pregnant right now. So what would you say is the greatest impact on mental health and emotional health during this period of time with HG?
Yeah, probably like if I were to have another baby, which I'm not going to do that again, but I would heavily, I would get like a heavy support system, like a good support system to watch my kids, help me clean my house, I don't know, just do all the things. And also just, I don't know, maybe have just someone to be there so I can talk to, or that knows. I have a few friends that they fully are aware now of, how that was. But I think I would just like really set myself up, because I feel like there wasn't enough awareness or support. I don't think I was fully ready, even with like the second one, because I was like, oh, I might not get that again, but we all know that the second one is usually worse, or at least that's what I've read, that it gets significantly like worse, every time.